Have you ever stood at the edge of a moment that felt like a quiet revolution? Not the loud kind with shouting or slamming doors, but the still, firm kind. The kind where you finally look someone in the eyes, take a breath, and say one simple word. No. For many of us, saying no might feel ordinary. But when you're in a relationship with a narcissist, whether romantic, familial, or professional, that single word can become the most dangerous, yet liberating act of resistance. Today on Behind Your Mind, we're going to explore what really happens when you finally say no to a narcissist. What shifts? What breaks? And what kind of power does it awaken in you? It's not just about standing up for yourself. It's about understanding the storm that follows and learning how to weather it with clarity, strength, and self-compassion. So find a quiet spot, maybe pour a cup of something warm, and let's talk about what really goes on behind the mind when you stop playing the narcissist's game. Before we get to the moment of resistance, let's rewind. Let's talk about what life often looks like before you ever dare to say no. Narcissists thrive on control, but not through brute force. At least not at first. They operate through subtle mechanisms: charm, guilt, manipulation, even flattery. At the beginning, you might not even notice the strings they're tying around you. You agree to things you don't want to do. You say yes to keep the peace, to avoid conflict, to keep their love or their approval, or simply because you're tired of explaining yourself. And so a pattern forms. In a narcissistic relationship, your yes becomes currency. It's how you buy harmony, avoid punishment, or cling to connection. But every yes you give that goes against your values, your needs, or your comfort costs you a little more of your identity. Over time, you may start to feel like a shadow of yourself. Agreeable, accommodating, quiet, just to survive the emotional terrain. But then, something shifts. The breaking point doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes it's quiet, a slow burn that eventually becomes a blaze. For Anna, it came in the form of a dinner party. She had spent 3 days preparing a meal to impress her narcissistic partner's colleagues. She did it all: the food, the setting, the playlist, the wine pairings. But when her partner arrived, he sneered at her efforts, belittled her menu in front of the guests, and acted as if the entire evening was his doing. Later that night, when Anna asked for a simple acknowledgement, a thank you, he rolled his eyes and accused her of needing too much. That's when she said it.
No.
I'm not doing this anymore.
No scouting.
No throwing things. Just a line drawn in the sand. This moment, while small on the surface, carries enormous psychological weight. Because to a narcissist, no isn't just defiance, it's a direct threat to the fantasy they've constructed. That they are always right, always in control, always adored. So, what happens next? The narcissist experiences what psychologists call a narcissistic injury. It's a wound to their fragile ego, the very core they spend their life protecting. Unlike a healthy person who might hear no and accept boundaries, the narcissist processes it as humiliation, betrayal, or rejection. And in response, they lash out. This may come in the form of rage, what's often called narcissistic rage. They may yell, insult you, gaslight you, or attempt to guilt-trip you back into submission. Or they may go silent,
Cold.
passive-aggressive. The infamous silent treatment is a common weapon in the narcissist's toolbox. It's their way of saying, you're being punished for stepping out of line. In either case, the goal is the same: to reassert dominance, to make you doubt yourself, and to pressure you into taking your no back. But if you hold your ground, the dynamic begins to shift. If the narcissist can't immediately overpower your no with rage or silence, they often switch tactics. This is where manipulation re-enters the picture, more strategic this time, more psychological. You might hear phrases like, "You're overreacting. I thought you were different. After everything I've done for you?
Fine.
Do whatever you want. Just don't come crying to me later." It's not always loud. Often, it's coded in guilt, disappointment, or martyrdom. They may even suddenly become affectionate again, promising change, recalling good memories, or making you feel as though you're the one who's breaking something sacred. This is not reconciliation. It's not growth. This is what many psychologists refer to as hoovering, an attempt to suck you back into the cycle, to erase the boundary you just set, and to ensure they remain in control. And here's the truth. The stronger your no, the more creative they become in trying to reverse it. Sometimes saying no doesn't just offend a narcissist, it enrages them to the point of destruction. If they can't regain control over you, they may try to destroy the version of you that dared to defy them. This can look like smearing your reputation to mutual friends, family, or coworkers, withholding resources like money, access, or support, stirring fear by threatening to expose secrets, fabricate stories, or hurt your relationships. For example, James, after ending a business partnership with his narcissistic co-founder, found himself at the center of a whisper campaign. Accusations were made, emails twisted out of context, and former clients suddenly turned cold. The co-founder couldn't tolerate rejection, not just of an idea, but of himself. So instead of accepting James's no, he tried to make James pay for it. This level of retaliation is about more than punishment. It's a message to others. This is what happens when you say no to me. But if you look deeper, retaliation often reveals just how fragile the narcissist truly is. Let's be honest, saying no to a narcissist doesn't come without internal consequences. Even if you know you did the right thing, you may find yourself flooded with doubt, fear, guilt, or grief. You might think, did I overreact? Maybe I was too harsh. What if they were right about me? That's the residue of long-term manipulation. Narcissists are experts at eroding your reality until even your truth feels uncertain. So when you finally assert yourself, your nervous system may go into overdrive. And emotionally, it can feel like losing a part of yourself, even if what you're losing was never healthy to begin with. This is where many people turn back. The discomfort is too intense, the guilt too overwhelming. The silence that follows a boundary can feel deafening. But hold on, because the pain of healing is always more honest than the comfort of control. Here's the part we often don't see in movies or hear in stories, the quiet liberation that follows a true boundary. Once the dust settles, once the rage fades, the guilt thins, the fear softens, you may start to feel something strange.
Space.
Space to breathe without tiptoeing. Space to think without defending. Space to be, without bending to someone else's version of you. No is more than a refusal. It's a reclamation. It says, I have the right to decide what happens in my own life. I'm allowed to disappoint someone if it means I'm honoring myself. For some, this leads to rebuilding identity. For others, it's the first step in finally escaping a toxic relationship. And for many, it's the seed of a life that is no longer rooted in fear or appeasement, but in self-trust. So, what happens after no? Life doesn't magically get easier, but it becomes yours again. Here's what to expect. The narcissist may return, months later, pretending nothing happened. Or they may vanish forever, looking for a new source of validation. You may lose relationships that were connected to that narcissist. But you'll gain something priceless: sovereignty over your own choices. Recovery involves relearning how to trust yourself. It might mean therapy, support groups, journaling, or quiet walks where you talk to yourself with more kindness than anyone else ever has. You begin to rebuild your internal compass. And with each passing day, your no becomes less about rebellion and more about self-respect. If you've made it to the point where you can say no to someone who has tried to control you, really say it and mean it, you've already done something extraordinary. You've taken the first step toward reclaiming your autonomy, your clarity, and your inner peace. Saying no to a narcissist isn't just a boundary. It's a beginning. And while it may shake the ground beneath your feet, it also opens a door to a future that is honest, healing, and wholly yours. Thank you for joining me today, here on Behind Your Mind. You're not alone in your journey. And remember, your no doesn't make you cruel. It makes you courageous. And hey, if this episode helped you understand yourself or someone else just a little better, please consider subscribing, liking, or just sharing this with someone who might need it. Until next time, stay curious,
Stay compassionate,
And remember, I'm right here with you, behind your mind.